Beast Stalker, Giant Stalker, Dragon Stalker, Crypt Stalker, Demon Stalker, Rift Stalker, Grom Stalker, Crypt Stalker, Scourge Stalker, Wind Runner, I'm a pony, Elite Skill Hunter. A Death Dealer, a Life Stealer, that's just the cost of being awesome sauce.
And welcome to episode 253 of the Hunting Party Podcast. I am Darkbrew from thebrewhall.com and the Brew Hall on Twitter.
I'm Delirium from Thrill of the Wild and at Delirium Hunts on Twitter.
I'm Bendak from Eyes of the Beast, Blizzard Watch, and Bendak WoW on Twitter.
All right, today is Sunday, January the 29th, 2017, and we are broadcasting live on twitch.tv, where you can participate in the live chat room where our lovely moderator, Ali Sonder, is there to take your questions. So no Foxy today, and Roger Brown, I imagine, is just, neck deep in Nighthold Mythic right now. In participating in the race for World First, so we wish them luck. And in fact, I know I have it here somewhere in the notes. We can just lead off with that. As a matter of fact, I think there's like few guilds that are stuck at 7 at 10 for Nighthold Mythic, and I think there are 4 guilds as of today that are 8 of 10. Method being one of them, Serenity, and then I don't know, a couple of Russian guilds which I have no idea how to pronounce. So I think
Exorcist and Fusion.
Fusion, okay. Which I don't know. One of them sounds familiar. I'm not sure about the other one there. I'm not sure if I've heard of Fusion before, but Exorcist, I think they've been around, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people will know them from their raiding mod or add-on. Exorcist Raid Tools is a pretty popular one, or at least it was the last expansion.
Is it? Yeah, I mean, I don't use that. I don't know. Do you use it, or Bendak? Do you use that? I use what do I use? Not DBM, the other one. Bigwigs.
Yeah, it's more than that, or it doesn't replace Bigwigs or DBM. It's different things. I think it was really popular on a few fights that had, I don't know, some kind of odd movement requirements or kind of dances where it would tell you which way to go or plan out with your raid beforehand where to go.
What kind of different things, like pathing or?
Well, I don't know if you remember. It's kind of weird for raid talk right now, but there was a Bendak Yield. I don't know the name of the bosses anymore, but there was a boss where on Mythic you had a bunch of little swirlies would appear on the ground, and everybody had to soak one, and you wanted to kind of make a specific path so you could get back and forth. It was a big rock-looking creature.
Kromog?
Yeah, Kromog, that must be it. So it would tell, it would assign everybody a number and then give them a little arrow as to where to go. Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That I don't think you're allowed to do in game anymore. Blizzard took away that capability at the beginning of Legion.
Yeah, they took away that. What else? Anything that was sort of like had to do with like positioning, right? I think they finally decided to disable that. Like your range mods and things like that don't work quite the same as they did before.
Yeah, so the range mods are now 100% reliant on the your abilities. So you can see you're within a range of whatever abilities you have, because an add-on has access to what abilities are able to be cast right now.
Right.
And that's the extent of it.
But so far so good. And this is what coming to the end of the first week of Mythic. I think a lot of us thought this might not be too difficult, that it might actually be over at this point in time, but it doesn't look like it's going to end during this first reset. I mean, possibly, but I don't know. I mean, it looks. What do we think? Like the big hurdles are the Star Augur and the Magistrix are the ones that people are banging their heads on right now.
Well, Serenity's been on Magistrix for 2 days now, I think, or going on 2 days. So it's obviously a big hurdle too. And Star Augur, that took some guilds 3 days or 4 days.
Okay. Yeah, like I think Method just got that one today, and obviously we're looking at Magistrix now, I guess. And I haven't progressed that far into it. I mean, so I don't know when it starts to sort of become linear in that you have to go after. Obviously, Gul'dan is last, but I'm not sure where the others sort of fall in between that. Like, could you go? Well, I guess Magistrix is and Magistrix can go down to the last two. So right, you kind of have to pick. You can pick and choose up to that point, and then you got to get through Magistrix, I guess, to get to Gul'dan.
Yeah, I think the first 3 you do an order, and then the next 4 you get to choose, and then the last 2 you do an order again. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe what was it? Tichondrius is the one that sort of defeating him though is where you sort of gain access, allows you to gain access to those final 2 as well.
Well, you've got to defeat all 5 of those to get access to them.
Cool. Why don't we do this? Let's just go over some of the news and the hot fixes. Then we can spend a big chunk of time talking about Nighthold in general, because I think both of you have at least cleared it on normal. I don't know if you started to work on heroic, and then our guild is doing pretty well. I mean, we're kind of laid back, but we're making some decent progress in normal, and should probably get that cleared. If not this week, then probably the following week, I would imagine. But we did get some hot fixes since the last show, and I think everything's in. I know one of them they sort of announced the changes, and I think they're all in production, or in the live server, I should say, at this point. But there was just a small change to flanking strike, so you could use it at the correct level, and then they kind of nerfed survival hunters in PvP a little bit, 7.5% less agility in PvP. So there's just some minor things, I guess, and then the other one's for beast mastery primarily. The combat experience, which is the pet passive, increases the damage of primary pets by 60%. So that was buffed up by 10%. And they did mention that it was primarily aimed at beast mastery, but of course it would benefit survival and then marksmanship, I guess, if you're out running with a pet. So how good a change is this? I mean, it just seems like is there much to say about it other than just a straight up damage increase for your primary pet?
Yeah, not much to say. It's like a 4% overall buff around there. Mm-hmm. So it's I don't know, it's nice to have.
Yeah. But nothing that's gonna necessarily move things up the meters all that much. But
yeah, I mean, I think it was significant. It's surprising how many abilities for BM especially are affected by combat experience. So it was the right buff. I think it was better than just a generic aura that affects every ability. I like seeing more specific buffs like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it multiplies well with mastery for those BM hunters around 100% mastery or whatever you guys are at.
So. I don't know, with all this Nighthold gear, I'm just losing mastery like crazy.
Yeah, I'm noticing that too as well. Yeah, that mastery seems to be going down a bit. It's a little disconcerting.
Bendak?
Unbuffed, I think like 85% pet damage. I was closer to 95 before Nighthold.
Yeah, since I've been splitting time between survival and marksmanship, I've had to drop a lot of mastery, and it's definitely hurting marksmanship. But it's nice to have the other stats also.
Well, how much are you going back and forth between the two?
About halftime. I haven't. So we didn't start mythics yet tonight. Hopefully, we'll kill heroic Gul'dan tonight. Mm-hmm. As our last. So we're down to only 8.5 hours a week of raiding, and we decided to re-clear normal again this week, so it cut down on our heroic time. But hopefully tonight we'll kill Gul'dan and start mythics. So I've just been switching to try and see what I like getting ready for mythics, and I still haven't decided. I don't know. Both are fun. I think the survival is way more fun of a rotation. It's by far the most interesting and complex rotation for hunters right now. But man, playing melee is not the most fun place to be in. It's just not something I enjoy in general. So I love playing survival around the world, and on the training dummies I do amazing, and then on a real boss I don't realize that I'm standing on the wrong direction, or I don't know. I can't get used to this idea of standing 20 yards away from the boss and you're in melee. So I stand right where I'm hitting the actual boss's model, and that's not the right place to stand, I guess.
I don't know. Can't you just follow the other melee and stick with them, I guess?
No, you'd think so. But when I'm so used to playing ranged and just not standing near anyone unless we have to stack.
Yeah, I'm like that too with ranged, right? I'll stay at range and then I just get as far away from everybody as I can. Much to my healer's dismay. But yeah, that just seems to be. I don't know. I probably struggle a little bit in melee as well. But you said you're splitting your time between that and marksmanship. So marksmanship got some changes as well, and I don't know what the full impact of that was. I mean, arcane shot was had its focus gen increased a little bit.
And multi-shot.
Yep, and multi-shot as well. And then the Sidewinder's damage was increased by 33%, which seems like a lot. But how does that change things at all?
I don't really notice it too much. I mean, so I don't know how many, I suppose I cast 25% less arcane shots or something like that, but you still spam them sometimes and cast a lot of aim shots. So I can't feel the difference when I'm playing. It's not like, because aim shot is so expensive, it's not like now you just cast one arcane shot and then you can keep going. It's just a little bit better.
Yeah, and then there's also a blue post talking about the Beast Mastery 2-piece bonus, which I guess it doesn't affect Dire Frenzy right now, and there was a question about that, and then some people were pointing that out, and then to which they replied, they said, agreed, we'll be doing this. They said, I don't have specifics yet, but we'll be adding some sort of effect to the tier 19 2-piece bonus that benefits Dire Frenzy. So, which I guess which is good. I don't know how popular a talent that is over just the regular Dire Beast at this point. I've been mostly just sticking with the regular. Yeah.
I mean, hopefully they do something to it. That's because right now, once you get the 2-piece bonus, you're kind of silly to not take Stomp. Because it boosts the Stomp damage. But my problem with Dire Frenzy is still the fact that it has the melee range requirement. So, kill command, even if your pet's 25 yards away, you can still cast it.
Right.
And then your pet will charge in. Dire Frenzy does not have that. And you wouldn't believe how many times, even when, say the boss gets repositioned, your pets will turn around and go to the other side of the boss. When they're doing that, sometimes they're not in the range of Dire Frenzy, and it's infuriating. I tried it on some single target fights and was like, no, I can't do this. It is numbers wise, it is pretty good right now for single target, but I'm just too frustrated by the range requirement.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding too. By the way, that it seems to be more so now than before. That I find myself, wanting to do more talent switching than I was perhaps in Emerald Nightmare. Though I was mostly marksmanship throughout all of Emerald Nightmare, and it was pretty static. But now with the different fights, I keep wanting to, need to carry burning through a lot more tomes, I guess I should say, than I had been previously. Just swapping things out here and there for the different fights, especially the more going from a heavy AoE fight, where things are stacked up, or versus where the things are spread out, versus more single target.
Yeah, we've definitely in my guild started doing between every boss we do one of those, whatever the massive tomes are, the tome for everybody. I don't know what they're called, but somebody puts one out, and even between some pulls of the same boss, we have to put them down because so many people are changing talents as we're learning the fights and figuring out what's best. I don't think I do as marksmanship too much, but with survival, it's in a really weird place where there are so many viable builds, and they might not all be the absolute max damage you can do, but if you play them well, they're really good. And so there's so many things you want to try and just see, oh, will this do better for this particular set of circumstances? Maybe I want to try this thing, and then you gotta hope that your guild's going to wipe a lot on this boss so you can try a bunch of stuff before you get the kill.
Right. Well, why don't we talk about Nighthold then in some of these specific bosses in what we've seen, and we can just start right at the beginning with Scorpion. And are you doing heroics now, Bendak? Is your guild moved into heroics at this point? Or did you
we started heroics.
Did you start out with that base? It was my question, and I think you said you were just about ready to clear heroic mode, right? Delirium. I'll take that as a yes.
Sorry, hopefully. I keep yeah. We'll see. We'll see how tonight goes.
Right. But the first boss is the Scorpion fight, Scorpiron, I guess is how you pronounce it, and it's fun. It's a fun fight. I mean, it's a heavy AOE fight. I mean, obviously, Bendak, you and I are both Beast Mastery at this point. So, what are you running for that fight, Delirium? Are you survival or marksmanship for that?
Yeah, I've mostly done survival. Has more reliable burst AOE. I mean, it has really strong AOE right now. The options there are great. It is it's hard for me to get used to playing melee on that fight. Even it's a really simple fight on heroic and normal. There's nothing really to think about, and I still find myself making mistakes because I just don't know how to play melee well. And often, so we've been doing these things for our one BM hunter, just so he can pull 2 million DPS. We'll let him just focus the ads, and our ad tank will keep them kind of far away. So I can't do a lot of cleaving on all of the packs. Like some people, at this point, even on heroic, it's a pretty guaranteed kill from the beginning. So we let some people just fall back on what's the thing that knocks you back?
I forget the ability's name, but yes,
Shockwave maybe. But yeah, so we let people just fall back on that and get tons of ads, and then let the BM hunter just go crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say certainly in normal, it's not a big deal, but so as you're fighting him, but chunks of his armor land in different spots of the room, and you're supposed to get behind him or also get knocked back and spawn ads. And every time I see someone get knocked back, I just squee a little bit. I'm just like, yes, here we go.
And I'm surprised you guys. I mean, I can't do it as survival, but you guys could just run back anytime you want and pull a few more ads in if you're not getting enough beast cleave damage. As long as the tank can stay up, I guess there's no problem in padding as much as you want. But I think Bendak, we were talking about this, and you said you were doing top or close to top single target damage and AOE damage in your guild.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was because we had the ads stacked right on the boss, but
right on the tail.
I mean, I guess you could say I was padding, but I mean, the ads do have to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as long as I save, Bestial Wrath for its
vulnerability.
Vulnerability.
Yeah.
Then you can really rack up the single target damage there.
Yeah, so that's a fun fight. I'm glad they gave us a really kind of simple one for the beginning that you can just go crazy on. Good
and it's good for Beast Mastery as well. I mean, he drops a bunch of relics, so that are useful. I think a couple of them, I think, have the kill command.
There's a kill command. There's kill command. There's Jaws of Thunder, and there's a Beast Cleave one.
But you guys, your first two bosses drop your two best trinkets or relics, right?
Scorpion drops two of them, and then where's the other one from? Star Augur or Elisand, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think one of them was a little later, but yeah, he drops two decent ones early on. So I'm told. I haven't seen them drop yet, but I do have three pieces of tier gear though.
Yeah, we got that arcane relic that does kill command on normal as Titan Warforged, so that was a big fight between a lot of people. So I think it was 915. Can that be right? It was ridiculously high.
915. Maybe it wasn't 915. Yeah, that's nice.
I might not be remembering that right, but it was something ridiculous for normal.
Yeah,
better than we've seen in heroic.
We've seen anything that high yet in at a normal. I think 895 is probably the best that I've seen so far for something.
Anyhow, what comes next? What's this?
So the next one is the chronomatic anomaly. This is like I call it the time warp guy. He's got the ads, and then it's so fast, and then it's slow.
Yeah, this fight I just find it kind of boring. I don't know. It's kind of like, let's just get past this.
Boring's the exact word.
I don't even think there's any good loot on him, at least for me.
Yeah, I don't recall it. I'd have to go look again. But when I look to where to spend my coins or whatever you want to call them, I don't think he's one of them that I look to
Right.
use up a roll on. Save him for a Scorp run. Yes, but him, no. Yeah, I don't know. Other than the ad kind of spawning, way across the room, it's really not much to say about this one either. It's not too bad.
I just
And
find it so painfully boring. What was it? There was a Wrath dungeon boss, or not Wrath. What came after Wrath? Cataclysm. There's a Cataclysm dungeon boss that did this, right? It was basically the same mechanics. Like wind would blow one way and you go really fast, and wind would blow the other way and you go really slow.
Right, that was one of the dragons.
Yeah.
In the Oldham,
and we would do it over and over and over because it had a
mount.
Dragon mount. Yeah.
Yeah, it did have a mount.
Anyway, so they made a raid boss out of that dragon, and it's still boring. Especially so playing marksmanship on it, which I think I've mostly done marksmanship on that boss, and those cast times just take so long. You're just sitting there hoping the cast will finish sometime soon. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this boss.
He's a good. The next one's kind of fun. The Trilliax. He's the cake boss.
Oh, yeah. Cake.
Yeah.
The Cake is a liar boss.
Mm-hmm. So I mean,
yeah, I think that's the only boss that's 100% single target, right?
I believe so. I mean, they're ads, but you don't DPS them at all. You just kind of leave them alone and just keep them from eating the cake, and then they clean up the room, and it's pretty good. But he's fun. I liked him. It seems chaotic, but it's really not that bad. It's pretty easy to kind of mitigate everything that's happening in the room. And as you say, I think it's pretty much a pure single target at this point. So what do you do for that? I mean, Delirium, are you survival or marksman? Which one do you do?
I've done, I think, 2 as survival and 2 as, so we've killed them 4 times, 2 on normal and 2 on heroic now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've split it. It's marksmanship's not very movement friendly, and as ranged, you really need to be eating cake constantly. I mean, not constantly, but every time the debuff falls off.
Yep.
So I probably as melee too, but I can disengage out and harpoon back really quick. Whereas with marksmanship, I can, you kind of got to wait for your cast to end and can't really hold up any burst between that. You just lost time to movement. So I think I like survival better.
I mean, you're moving around quite a bit of survival too. With survival, I guess would be a little bit different, right? Because I mean, the boss is being moved around the room, so you're kind of chasing it.
The tanks are kind of kiting those whatever the puddles are that are on the ground, and so you kind of chase it, and it will spend most of your time looking for a clean spot on the ground. Because I've heard complaints both ways that some people are complaining that their tanks are kiting so fast that they can't keep hitting the boss. And other people are complaining that their tanks are kiting too slow, so there's no open space to stand on the ground. So I guess it's kind of either or. Yeah, but it's fine. I mean, it's not too difficult on either spec. I haven't looked to see who's ranking higher on that fight. Maybe that's the next step.
And then Bendak, what are you using for talents on this one? So what does your single target talent build look like for this?
I pretty much just swap out Blink Strikes for Bestial Fury. That's all I really change. I still keep using Dire Stable. I guess you could use Way of the Cobra, but I have the belt, and I find the Dire Stable really helpful for always getting an extra kill command.
Mm-hmm. And then do you use Murder of Crows on this one, or?
Yeah.
As well, yeah.
Use Murder Crows on, I think, all but 3 fights. Yeah.
Which is fine. And then do you use Barrage at all, or do you? I kind of try to. I usually don't take it. I usually stick with Volley for the AOE
Barrage
situations.
just does not work for BM. I don't care how much they buff it. It's just okay if they buff it enough, it'll be worth it. But it's when you're in Beast of Wrath, like your focus is so much better spent on kill commands and multi-shots.
Yep.
Like it's not even a competition. Like Barrage just hits for peanuts in comparison. Like it's nothing. And it's just you're spending like 2.5 seconds of your buff time channeling, plus using up all that focus. It's just it just doesn't fit with, at least with Killer Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you weren't using Killer Cobra, then it'd be different.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, volley seems to be my go-to choice for the AOE. The only thing I don't like about volley is, it toggles on and off, and if you die, it turns itself off. And
Yeah,
I
I made a weak order for that, and it just plays like the text volley on my screen. It takes up my entire screen.
does it? Yeah,
Just so I don't forget to toggle it back on.
yeah. I need to do something, because I've done that plenty of times. I'll sit there like, oh wait, something's not right here. And then you look down, and I see volley. It's not turned on. And it reminds me of the change they had done to the trap launcher.
Right.
So I don't know why. It'd be nice if they would just do. If you turn it on, you just keep it on.
At this point, I'm not even sure why it's a toggle, because if you take that talent, why would you want to turn it off?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That's a great question, because I don't know why you would want to turn it off. I can't think of one good reason. I mean, even in
It's faster.
single target, it's just extra damage.
Yeah, it's worth the 3.
Is
It's
what it
worth that
is.
3 focus. Yeah. So I'm not sure, but whatever. It's just I think I use volley on Scorpion,
Mm-hmm.
Spellblade, and Tichondrius. That's usually, I just use it on those 3. Use Murder Crows for the rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we can talk about Spellblade. I guess that's the next one that's usually up in the rotation. Spellblade, Allurial. And so, Delirium, do you go survival or do you go marksman for her?
I went survival last time, though I think ranged is a little easier. There's just the one mechanic where you have to stack with somebody who has to debuff or near somebody.
Well, she's got like the frost, whatever phase in the beginning where she'll pick a couple of players.
Yeah.
And they have to kind of move out of the group, stay a little bit spread out, and then eventually come together to remove your debuff.
And so if you do get that as melee, it's horrible. But
yeah, I was going to say, I was just trying to say, does it go? I've never paid attention to see how many of our melee folks get that, if it
doesn't
goes on to melee or not.
I don't believe it goes on them ever for the first time, but when it bounces, it can if you're the closest person to them or one of the close people to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I've accidentally got it when I disengaged out real quick and harpooned back in. And I've gotten it from that and then had to run back out and stand there not doing anything but throwing axes. It's not fun, but that was, because of a mistake, not because of how the fight's designed.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the big ring of ice where you either have to stay inside or stay outside. And so as melee, it's not too hard. You just stay in. You got to run forward, but you don't have a cast time on anything, so no problem.
Yeah, and I think the ring of ice must only be in heroic. I don't think that's in normal.
Oh, okay.
If it is,
I think I did normal.
Killing her, and we're doing something wrong. So, but although I'd say normal for the most part, and maybe it's just because of the gear we have coming out of Emerald Nightmare, but I don't think so, because Emerald Nightmare normal felt this way too. They just feel like they tried to make it, went out of the way to kind of undertune them a little bit and make them a lot easier than what I seem to remember for Warlords of Draenor normal.
I guess it depends on your group, like, because a lot of people doing it we got tons of artifact traits, and that's why we're plowing through it, I think. If you're more of a newer player or a really casual guild, it's probably more of a realistic challenge,
Yeah, you're probably right. It just seems weird, It's like, at least, especially that first week we went in there, and there were some bosses that we just, one shot right out of the gate. It was just a one pull, one shot, and moved on to the point where you didn't even really learn the fight necessarily, because it was over so quick, and you just kind of did what you thought, just reacted to things rather than execute a full blown strategy. And it just, at least for, I don't know, our group that's not the normal mode of operation for our team. So that's I seem to wonder And now we're getting towards the end, and it's a little bit more difficult for us. Like this last 3 bosses there that we're getting ready to work on. But who's next? Tichondrius. Which one? He's the gatekeeper, right? That's who he is. I believe he's the one that's got the blood ads, and then summons a bunch of ads, and you go into like the dream state.
Oh,
so
right, yeah.
Yeah. It's got the 4 pillars you have to hide behind.
Bat things or something.
Yeah, bats. Lots of ads. Another good hunter fight.
It is a lot of AoE, although things like tend to be spread out. At least I find for me, I don't know if you find this, like when those, really pay attention to when those bloods spawn, because they end up getting, at least we're sort of, the tank is picking them up and taking them away from the boss. I think they have to get separated from the boss. So I try and get on those really quick, at least with my pets. Otherwise, if I miss that, I just watch as the bloods go, and then the pets take their time.
Oh,
Yeah, as soon as those blood
onto
spawn,
those.
as soon as those blood spawn, just switch your pets to them right away, and they'll
Yep.
follow the ads back.
Yeah, so I'd say that's probably the trickiest thing I found with that. It's just paying attention right when those bloods spawn, and then just put the pets on them right away, and then it's okay. Otherwise, especially Hattie, just
Yeah.
And then, and also when you go to that dream state, you kill the bats, and then there's the orbs that drop in the room that will give you a damage buff, which is pretty good. I usually try and get those because the DPS is high enough. But other than that, I mean, it is a little bit of a challenge. I mean, there's sort of if you don't get him down quick enough, you can get overrun with ads. That seems to sort of be the kind of enrage mechanic there. Although he does enrage. But again, a fairly straightforward fight. And I forget which one I know he dropped some tier gear, and I forget who else drops tier. I think Trilliax drops a cloak, which is a good, which is a pretty good off piece to have. Although I don't know about you guys, I've noticed that a lot of the PoE drops in the dungeon are cloaks.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. At least for us, at least going through normal, when we get the epic drops, we've seen at least 3 different kinds of cloaks.
Yeah, we have gotten a few pretty ridiculous high-level BOEs that we're selling off instead of giving to people just to make some guild gold.
Yeah, that's what we did do. We'll see if anybody needs them, and they usually don't. And most people will pass on the cloaks because they know they'll replace it with the one from Chiliax if they get it. But we just thought it was funny. It's like, wait, why would they make BOE drops cloaks when there's a tier 1 that almost everybody I think will want.
There's a BOE belt as well.
Yeah, that's one we've seen drop more often.
Yeah, I saw the belt drop one time too. So who's one of the other buck? Croesus.
Croesus, yeah.
I like him. I like that fight. That's a fun fight. It's the bridge boss. I mean, now you must go. Well, that's a good question. Do you go marksman for that, or do you go with melee and just pay attention to when he smashes the bridge and make sure you get the heck out of there?
I've tried both. It's kind of dependent on what the needs of the guild are. Mm-hmm. So because of the way you soak the ads coming down every once in a while, and if we have tanks that are trustworthy, so if your tanks don't stack on, or what, not stack, but soak the slams, then it's real bad for melee. It's just not a good time. Otherwise, it's easy on either one. I think this one's it's kind of up there with the first 3 bosses. It's not one of the harder bosses in there.
No,
I can't, off the top of my head, remember what the mythic mechanic is.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's anything different in heroic than normal. In normal, it's I mean, in heroic, does he, when he does that sort of raises his hand and does like the little fell blast or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I mean, in normal, it's a set pattern. I don't know if it's like that with heroic.
Oh, I haven't noticed if it did, but he telegraphs it for so long that it's pretty easy to catch which way to go to.
Right. I mean, at least in normal, he alternates. So if he's on the left, then the next one's going to be the right, no matter what. I didn't know
Oh, huh.
if they randomize it in heroic. I suspect they might, because otherwise you don't even have to you just have to know where he went first, and then you can just shift over to the other
Right.
side, and you're good to go.
I think it always goes back and forth.
Does it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. I never noticed.
It's not really I wouldn't really call it a primary mechanic. It's more of like a background thing that you have to just keep in your head when you're doing the other mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's easy to like do something else and then forget about that, you know?
Well, that's true. That's true. Especially at the end of the fight, when you're running out of space on the bridge, and there's just get that little, smaller area to work with. There's a lot more you have to pay attention to, especially with the blast and stuff like that. That one person, in the beginning, that one person, I forget what it's called, some sort of debuff that they get, and they can get out of the way. They can get pretty far back, but
Right, the orb.
bridge, yeah, the orb. But as the bridge shrinks, it becomes harder to avoid that. I don't know. The only thing I've noticed on the fight is there's some trash before the boss, and if you don't dismiss your pet, Patty and your pet, they'll be standing way up on the ledge just watching you.
Yeah.
Not do much in the way of damage.
Sometimes the pets, when he breaks the bridge, sometimes they kind of just derp out there for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually they start attacking again, but it's a bit of a delay.
Yeah, the first week or first time we did this, our BM hunter, he lost his pet to slam a couple times. I don't know if it was in the circle that it was soaking or how he lost it, but it died like twice during the fight, which was particularly odd and is bad when it happens to Hattie. I'm hoping that was just a bug and not a regular thing BM hunters have to worry about.
I haven't noticed mine die, so hopefully, I don't know, maybe it was fixed.
Yeah, I haven't had any issues with that either. Not on this boss, but yeah, it's a pretty straightforward boss. Mostly single target, depending on if you can't soak those little swirls that go on the ground, you might have an ad or two to kill. But other than that, not too bad. And it drops the tier chest, I believe. So it's a nice, easy boss for some easy tier.
Yeah, I definitely go, even if you're going to be killing ads every once in a while, there'll be one or two. Mm-hmm. I still go full single target build. It's just not worth it to lose any single target to kill some ads with AoE. They're going to go down when your BM hunter hits them anyways.
So one of the other bosses is the High Botanist. Now, we haven't messed with him. We were working on the one, at least I've listed after that, the Star Augur Atreus, I guess. I don't know what the preferred order as far as tackling them in terms of difficulty is, but that's what we chose to do, and I guess we'll do the Botanist next. Well, what are your thoughts on the Botanist?
This is the first little hiccups we had where you had to start thinking, okay, we're actually back in progression rating now. We're not just goofing off doing farming. So like you have to actually do the mechanics, which the other ones you do too, I guess, but they're just a little simpler. And so here I can't remember what the big problems were. I think I've gone SV on this a lot, which melee mechanics were a little simpler than ranged, but it's just once you get down the how to handle the ads, how to not make them multiply over and over and over, then it's a very easy fight. It's just you got to get down that one mechanic, I think. I don't know, Bendak, how'd you guys do with it?
Well, the first week on normal, it was the hardest boss in the whole place, but they nerfed it since then on normal.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't realize. Maybe that's why we had more trouble with it.
Yeah, it was harder than Gul'dan on normal anyway. But yeah, it's those the ads that spawn the plants or whatever. I think their cooldown lines up pretty perfectly with Binding Shot, so you can always CC those. So that'd be really nice if you have the Sepha's ring. There's just a lot of stuff to avoid on the ground, but it's not too bad. It's BM anyway. What else? Eventually, the boss splits into 2 and then splits into 3, so you have a lot of opportunity to cleave. So actually, that's another boss that I probably use volley on sometimes too. Just because for half the fight, you're always hitting 3 targets.
Yeah, it was definitely a good one for butchery. Even though you don't have like a lot of huge ad packs, there's enough that if you can get them down real quick. Or what are those orb things called? The big sun-looking orbs?
Oh, you mean those orbs that I ignore because my pet takes forever to get there?
Yeah, those ones. So as survival, you can just chain out there or harpoon out there to them, and as soon as they die, you get your harpoon back. So you go to the next one, and I don't know. I've found this on a lot of fights. I am the first melee to get to an ad, but I'm the last melee to get to like soaking or any other mechanic. If I can't harpoon to it, it takes me forever to get there. But if I can harpoon and there's an ad I can kill and then harpoon back, then I'm good to go, and I'll be zipping around the place real fast. So places like this where there's low health ads that you need to just get down real quick, SV does really well.
And then the boss after this, of course, is the Star Ogre Atreus. Now, this is a fun fight. I like this one. I like the room that you're in. It's kind of like this.
Oh yeah, it looks cool.
Observatory
when you go between phases.
Yes.
It took me a few pulls until somebody pointed out that was happening, and I had completely missed it, forgotten to look up, and there it was. This cool stars going on.
So in this first phase of this fight, I'm just curious how you guys decide to set up your raid. I mean, I guess there's different ways you can approach this. I mean, I guess the mechanic is what your tanks get this debuff basically, and then which they have to clear. They start getting stacks, and then they have to clear it by kind of running into a group. I mean, we sort of broke it up into like 3 different groups that seemed to work best for us, like rather than just sort of one giant stacked group. I didn't know how you guys were handling that first phase.
The first time we did the 3 groups, and then the next time we just all stacked in one group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we still do 3 groups. I'm not sure why. It doesn't seem to matter much. Just icy ejection goes out to the edge, and
yep,
and try to get close to one area so the tank can clean it up. But it's I don't know why we do a lot of mechanics we do, and just go with it.
But overall, I mean, this is pretty much a straight single target fight until the very end. Although even though they're you get to add, it's more or less you're kind of focusing that big ad down at the end. So it's feels very much like a mainly single target encounter at this point.
Yeah, having the high burst priority like ad I think it's good for hunters to. It's a good one to practice on the getting your burst lined up. As for survival, it's particularly nice because we have quick access to high burst single target. And so just each time we run through Mongoose Fury, it's tons of single target damage. So it's pretty great.
Well, and overall, how does the damage seem to you guys on a fight like this? And I mean, because when the patch launched and when the raid came out, I mean, we sort of talked about the hunter numbers and where they fell on the charts, and it was kind of depressing, right? But when you get into some of these fights, and you have to deal with actual mechanics, I think the outcomes a little bit different. But here's a fight that's more a pure single target. So I mean, do you find yourselves lower than that? Is this a fight that hurts hunters, you think, or doesn't matter overall that much?
Yeah, I don't know. Survival's pretty middle of the pack on both single target and AoE, unless you play really well, and then it has a lot of a very high ceiling. So a fight like this, if I'm on, then I do great. If I'm not on, then I do I'm at the very bottom. And I think with marksmanship, it's harder to, like, there's nothing you can kind of game to do really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I had more trouble on fights like this with marksmanship. With, making myself, setting yourself free from the crowd. It's harder to do here. I know BM kind of has a couple ways to get up in this fight, right? I feel like I've seen our BM Hunter do well a couple times.
On Star Ogre?
Yeah.
I mean, it's single target, like, it's not like BM's strength, but we're not terrible at it. It's just, I mean, there's, like, I was doing pretty well on it too. Like, there was, that's probably partially because of progression and I have no movement penalties, but I find that when you start farming bosses, other classes kind of go up a bit higher than BM than you would,
Mm-hmm.
'cause they have more room to improve by planning out their movements and stuff like that. But I mean, since the 2 buffs we got compared to the beginning of the patch, we're definitely a lot better. I think we're still on the lower end of the charts, like the overall charts, but it's not like as big of a disparity as it was.
It's still
not
fairly, it's underplayed, right? There's not a huge representation in kind of the hardcore guilds. Is that true still?
It's a bigger representation than there was in Emerald Nightmare.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm on Warcraft logs here, and in Heroic there's 121,000 marksmanship parses and 75,000 beast mastery.
How many survival?
3,300.
33 total? That's not very many.
Yeah, I'd imagine survival is just low, and it has nothing to do with how much damage they do. It just has to be, I think it's just more of a. Most people that play Hunter do it, I think, because they want to be ranged and not melee.
Yeah, and that's kind of getting off topic here, but that's definitely watching who the standouts are, like the names that you see at the top of the survival rankings are doing amazing damage, like they're owning the place, but they're not names that I recognize like you used to see, like from they used to play old ranged. I don't know if this is always true, but I think a lot of them are new to the class because they came to play survival like melee.
That's
or
possible.
I don't think they're new to the game. Like, but I think a lot of the best players, there are definitely some up there that are doing really good rankings that played Hunter before, but there are quite a few who are. It looks like they're new to the class in general.
Yeah, and I mean, we haven't. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say another thing that affects the beast mastery numbers is if you compare a beast mastery hunter that has the good legendaries plus set bonuses and compare it to one who doesn't, like, it's a vast difference. So the BM hunters who have the good legendaries and their set bonuses, they're right up there on the top, like competing with the best classes. But if you don't have those, that's when you're at the bottom. And that's BM. Yeah, that's why BM it's lower than it looks. I mean, it all depends on what items you have, which kind of sucks. But
and that's kind of been the whole problem with this expansion, I think. It's this legendaries are so important for. And actually, I think survival might be the one exception, as there's no one legendary that each legendary kind of changes your rotation, what's best a little bit, but there's no like you have to have this one or you can't play. So that's a nice change, but yeah, definitely for marksmanship and beast mastery, it's so important to have those. And
what do we say, like the best ones for BM or certainly the belt, right? That's probably
it's the belt and the shoulders.
And the shoulders is I couldn't think of the other one, but I knew the belt for sure.
I'd say that the shoulders is the best one, and then the belt's the next best. And then the ring and the boots are kind of just about equal value, but they're well below.
And you have what? You have the boots. You have the boots and the belt, right, Bendak?
Yeah. So I'm pretty lucky, I guess. So I'm probably, I don't know, my perspective might be a little skewed. Like, I usually do pretty well, but I have the belt, so I mean, if I didn't, I know I would be, 25, 30K lower on most fights.
And then, not to get too far away from the raid discussion, but we were talking about legendaries. I think you Bendak, in our chat here, our Skype chat linked a site that sort of helped calculate when you were next due to get a legendary. And I don't know how accurate it's proven to be.
It was completely accurate for me. So all of my tunes.
It's I guess there is a group of people who they data mined a lot of armory stuff and looked at how many legendaries people had compared to how many Mythic Plus clears they had and raid boss kills and all that. And they came up with like a general idea of how much those affect your bad luck protection. And I don't know, they turned it into like a spreadsheet that can sort of guesstimate when you might get your next one. And for most people, it seems to be reasonably accurate.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was. I have 2 legendaries, and that's what it suggests that I have. I don't think it's going to be 100%, but it sounds like it's pretty good. I know there's I have another hunter in the guild. I popped him in there just curious to see, because he's only had the 1 legendary, and yet I'm pretty sure this thing goes by what they call kill points, and he's got a lot more kill points than I do. Yet he's only got 1 legendary, so I can say it's not 100%, but I think it sounds like it's pretty.
I mean, it's definitely an
average,
so there should be just as many people with more as there are with less.
Well, I can tell you that I popped my mage in there, which I got to 110 after the 715 changes, where you could buy the 1 to 20 book for artifact knowledge.
Right.
And it suggested I had as many kill points as my hunter, which I've been playing since the start. So definitely not correct for that. It suggested I was supposed to be close to 2 legendaries. I have yet to have 1 on my mage so far. So I don't know. Maybe it doesn't take that part. I mean, I'm guessing it takes artifact knowledge into account. And buying that 1 to 20 book probably skips a lot of the kill points.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm not even sure if it factors that in or not. I thought it just went off like boss kills and dungeon clears and stuff, but who knows?
Yeah, I think that's what it looked like, because I don't know. There was also like a thread on it over at MMO Champion, which sort of looked at some of the things it looked like, and I think it was primarily like your mythic cache kind of stuff. What you're and as you say, boss kills and focusing on things like that. And I assume there are other things though that factor into your bad luck protection, so to speak, and when you might get another legendary or just a legendary. But
yeah, plus you can just get lucky. Like that thing might say, like, I know people in my guild who that tool would say they should have had 3 legendaries, but they have 5. So just because they got lucky.
Yeah, and Setback, someone in the chat room, CM Knights, is saying the site says he should have 4, but he says he's got 5. So yeah, it looks like you said, you can't. Sounds like you get very lucky out there.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'd like 5, please.
I'd really like those shoulders, but I mean, I feel kind of greedy since I have a belt.
Yeah, our Grand Magistrix Elisanda has a chance to drop a legendary. See how I pulled that back around?
I did. You did pull that back around. I was going to go there next, and it would not have been as the segue would not have been as good. Yeah, no, I haven't seen. These last 2 fights I haven't seen. I've just seen like the Gul'dan's kill cinematic. That's it. But so how is the Grand Magistrix? Obviously in Mythic it seems to be kicking everybody's butt at the moment, but I don't know about Heroic and Normal. So how about you, Bendak? What have your thoughts on that fight?
I don't know. It's one of those fights because I only did it on normal so far, and it just feels kind of glossed over. And like the mechanics, I don't even remember them. All I remember is standing in the red bubble to get more haste.
Right. So this is one. There's a pink or red, I guess whatever you want to call it, bubble, and a blue bubble. Or I guess there's a pink and a blue ad, and you kill them, and a big bubble comes up, and one makes you slow and one makes you fast. And you can get, I think, 2 fast buffs per duration that the pink bubble is up, in normal at least. You can't remember if that's true in Heroic also, but Yeah, so it's fun to be able to get this huge haste and movement speed, I think, bonus. But it's a long fight, depending on your DPS, of course, but you have to repeat it 3 times with a little bit different. So you get her down to 10%, and then she turns back time, and you do the whole fight over again with slightly different mechanics, and then you get her to 10%, and she turns back time again, and you do it one more time.
It's at least like 8 or 9 minutes or 10 minutes even.
Yeah, I think we were at 8.5 minutes on our kill. Yeah, it was a long fight. I do think the first one's a little, or at least for, I don't know, for bad RNG, the first phase was a little harder than the second couple phases, the second or third phase, because there's every once in a while you get this ring of things. I can't remember what the mechanic's called in the slide. Arc-kinetic ring, is that right? And so those rings come in and they do a ton of damage unless you avoid them. And every once in a while, she'd just be standing in a weird place to make it really hard to avoid them. I don't know how to explain it unless you've seen the fight, but you'll all see it, I assume, when you get to it, if you haven't already.
I guess it's easier for range because you just got to stand near a slow bubble.
Right. Yeah, and just every once in a while, she'll be standing really near to one, and so it'll kind of arc around the bubble.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it'll never get to it. So just every once in a while, you'll think you're having a really good pull, and then half the raid dies. But that goes away eventually. So I found that to be the more annoying mechanic of the different 3 phases. So. Which is good, because on that long of a fight, it is not fun to, wipe it 8 minutes in.
Yeah, it's more fun to get near the end and you're kind of in the home stretch and it's you know what's going to happen.
But speaking of dying at the very end, Fire Eyes. Next.
Yeah, how is this fight? I mean, obviously it's the final boss in the raid, so usually these are typically longer fights, multi-phase fights that are designed to, as you say, just make you cry when you get them down to under 10% and then wipe.
I mean, I like this fight a lot.
Yeah. I think most of the mechanics are very doable. You just have to have everybody on the team be team players, because you're going to lose a little bit of DPS, like all of the bonds. There's a bonds of fel and bonds of fire. You've got to have people actually stop what they're doing and go out and stand on them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a raid that's good team players, like I would think this would be miserable to pug, where everybody's just not paying attention to what other people are doing, just doing their own thing. But it's not too bad when when you have a good raid team. The Fire Eyes kill you very quickly if you don't kill them first.
Mm-hmm.
And they come at the very end of the fight, so it's you go all the way in and then it's over quickly. But I think once you get that down, that's kind of the whole fight on heroic and normal. There's not a lot else to mess up. I assume there's another phase that nobody's seen yet on Mythic. Was there anything else difficult on this one? I can't remember any tricks either for hunters.
Not really. I thought it worked pretty well for BM hunters. The only thing that sucks is when you have to go soak one of those things and it's out of range, but at least you can still kill command from back there.
Right.
You could solo soak one of those too, if it happened to you.
Yeah, we ran into a problem. All our tanks wanted to solo soak them, but nobody would notice who it was or if they were going to solo soak them again. So one person would run out and then get killed because he was the only one soaking.
Yeah, you just have to call out.
Yeah, you got to communicate well, but we ran into problems trying to figure out who was going to solo soak and who needed a group of 4 or 5 people or who needed 2 or 3.
Or then you get the demon hunters who get put in one and then they immediately fell rush out of it.
Oh, demon hunters. Yeah, I ran into problems a few times where I would go to stack thinking, you know, okay, I'm at about 50% health, 60% health. If we get 4 or 5 people, I'm fine. I can help soak this. But they would run out when we had 3 people, and then I'd just keel over.
And then there's the DPS buff extra action button you get.
Oh, right, yeah, that haste buff.
Yeah, and you want to use that. I forget what the ability is called, but he casts like this fireball ability that hits the whole raid, and right after that is when you want to use the ability because fire damage removes it.
Yeah.
And then you should usually be able to benefit from the full buff every time. And if you like get full benefit from that, like you're really gonna do well in the fight.
And both BM and survival benefit tons from haste. Marksmanship benefits well from it, but it's definitely not the best stat. I don't know, how much DPS increase are you seeing when it's used well, Bendak?
Quite a bit. I mean, difference between like when I first started using it, I was just kind of experimenting, and I would lose it right away because of that fireball. But I mean, its cooldown's a pretty long fight too, right? It's like 8 minutes or something. It was still, my DPS was still pretty high for a long fight, which is like unusual. Like I think it was like 550k for a long fight, which is pretty good for BM.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one. It's in, is it phase 1 where the ads come out, and you kind of get down one at a time, but can kind of cleave through them also. You can stack them up. I can't remember what the different ads are called. The Inquisitor or something.
At the start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, there's 3 big ads at the start, and then you fight Gul'dan. And then he spawns those eyes throughout the fight. Usually there's at least 2 or 3 of them close together, so you can cleave those 2.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not a bad fight for hunters. I don't know what the... It seems like we used to have tons of like little tricks where you could skip a mechanic, or you could, you know, disengage over something and it wouldn't damage you, or we could use not aspects of the turtle, but deterrence, whatever we had before, because we had those 2 charges and it was great. But now there's not really many tricks. Like it's just you DPS, you do the mechanics the same way everybody else does. I keep wanting to think of neat little, you know, ways to kind of hack the game, but there's nothing.
Because when you don't have 2 charges or short cooldown, it's you kind of have to save it as like an emergency button.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of fights in here where you can soak something with Aspect of the Turtle. What's oh, we just talked about the lady who repeats over and over.
Yeah.
3 times. Whatever her name. There's some stuff you can soak and little pools that you can soak with Turtle up, and I don't know. There's little things you can do.
You could soak
Other people can do them better.
I guess you could soak the souls on Gul'dan.
Oh, right.
The turtle. Yeah.
Right. And you can, I saw I didn't try this much, but our BM Hunter would just run in for a second and then run back out. I'm not sure how much that helps, but seemed to.
Yeah, I don't know how long you have to stand in there to remove one of the souls. Or, I don't even know. I guess you just have to, because there's no really way to count them without looking at the actual graphics spinning around, right?
Not that I know.
Well, that's, I guess, Nighthold in a sort of a nutshell. We'll, look forward to seeing how the race for World First plays out. And I'm, obviously rooting for Method, but I can't wait to get Roger back on and kind of get his thoughts and his experience going through there. And I saw some of the people talking about him in the chat room, so it sounds like maybe he's running primarily as marksmanship. I know when we last talked to him, he was looking to kind of bounce back and forth a little bit between beast mastery and marksmanship. So I'll be curious to see how if he's indeed doing marksmanship mostly, what kind of got him to settle on that versus leaning more towards beast mastery.
possible he just didn't get any good legendaries for Beast Mastery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Or he
that's so
just-
sad. That's man, that's just
That's
the
kind
game
of what
right
the
now.
chat room said. Is he got an MM piece drop. So MM.
Well, he already had the belts and the boots, which are
Right,
best.
yeah,
for
he
him.
had the two best for
Mhm.
him.
He did have the two best, yeah.
And while I am definitely rooting for our friend, it is nice to see there are, more than just Method and Paragon, which for a long time it was just Method and Paragon. So it's nice to see a bunch of guilds at 8 of 10 or 4 guilds. That's
Yeah, I said there's
Pretty
4
good.
8 of 10, and a whole bunch more that are 7 of 10.
at 7,
now.
right?
Yeah.
So you got almost the whole top 10 are at 7 of 10, or
Yes.
at least 7 of 10.
Yeah, I think it's more than that. I mean, I think like the top 20 guilds, I think there are at least 20 that are 7 of 10. More than that, 25, I guess. Yeah, the top 20.
yeah,
The
that's
top
great.
25 guilds are 7 of 10 mythic right now.
I'm sure we'll hit 7 of 10 tonight,
Yeah,
after
there
we
you
kill
go.
Heroic Gul'dan.
Well, based on
course.
I mean, yeah, why not, right?
Now that I've had this talk with you two about, all the fights, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, so you'd be switching to BM. Is that what you're saying?
Apparently, yeah.
Have we convinced you?
Spam that beast cleave.
Yeah.
I can't remember what my beast mastery weapons at. I haven't played it at all, so I think I'm at 3 golden traits, but nothing beyond that. I don't have the Paragon trait at all. Maybe not doing BM yet.
Cool. All right. Well, I think it's after 5 here, so why don't we just go ahead and wrap this one up? We did get an email, but maybe we'll talk about that one next week. It was about survival, and I wouldn't want to make this. I wouldn't want this person to think. I wouldn't want to call him a liar here, because he's sort of complaining that we don't talk enough about survival. So like I said, I don't want to call him a liar. So
I'm bringing it up. I'm gonna represent just for Riley.
It is. It's funny. So yeah, well, we should do it. We should dedicate. Well, obviously, now that you're playing survival, I think we'll definitely dedicate a little bit more time to discussing that. And who knows, maybe I'll even go get my legendary here, or not my legendary, my artifact. Yes. I'll have to go get that cheap green one or whatever, at least to start with. That you can buy from your order hall. Is that where it is? I think. Yeah.
It's worth it to get the legend or the artifact just so the Taurens, the Moose Tauren, treat you so well. They speak of you with such respect once you get it.
Oh, do they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I do like that harpoon. I like the look of that harpoon ability. That does look like fun to kind of just.
Now that they've brought back disengage for survival, it's a fun spec. I really want misdirection now.
Mm.
And after that, I'm gonna want trank shot back for everybody. But once we get those, it'll be a perfect.
Yeah, one step at a time. So.
Well, there's one other important thing to mention since our schedule is every 2 weeks. Because Tuesday, the Kirin Tor Tavern Crawl begins, and we cannot let the mages outdrink us, guys. It just can't happen.
Okay. Is this real beer or virtual beer?
I'm not really sure. There's not really a lot of information about this mini holiday. Apparently, I guess a bunch of mages go from bar to bar, and I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll represent. I haven't even heard of this one yet, so I'll have to
No,
look it
me
up.
neither. So that's funny.
That starts
right.
this coming Tuesday?
Yes, the 31st.
Cool. All right. I'll look
I'll have to
forward
go
to
check it out. All right. Well, you have been listening to episode 253 of the Hunting Party Podcast. I'm Darkbrew from thebrewhall.com and the Brew Hall on Twitter.
I'm Delirium from thrillofthewild.com and at Delirium Hunts on Twitter.
I'm Bendak from Eyes of the Beast, Blizzard Watch, and Bendak WoW on Twitter.
All right. Check us out on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or at our RSS feed to your reader, and we'll have these links available in the show notes.
If you have a question or a topic you would like us to discuss on the show, email us at huntingpartypodcast@gmail.com or send us a
Unless
tweet
it's
at
survival.
huntingpartypod unless it's survival.
All right. Stay thirsty, my friends, and remember to drink your dark brew lager.
Siempre presta la emoción de lo salvaje.
Keep your eyes on the beast.
Dark Lady, watch over you.
A life stealer, that's just the cost of being an awesome sauce. A dues payer, a boss slayer. I rock out with my lockout Viper to cheetah to dragon hawk. No time to waste, cause I can jump shot. BM, MM, and SB. I can rock out any tree. Never worried about my threat, cause I've got FD and misdirect. Catching loose mobs in my traps. I never miss, cause I am hit capped. Cause I'm the hunter, not the marked. I'm the fighter, not the spark. I'm the kiter, not the kite. I'll top the meters every fight. Rated and game dealing death. Just me, my gun, and my trusty bed. Now let's begin with Illidan, Osirian, and Gil'jadan, Magdamar, Asgalor, Gruul, Cthulhu, and Razorgore, Onyxia to Ragnaros. Which one have we killed the most? Kel'Thuzad to Malagos. We even killed a Kama's ghost. Feels like we're getting close, all that running as a ghost. Yogg-Saron, Thorian, Sartharian, Magtheridon, Saphiron, Lucifer to Sulfuron, Archimon, Amalon, Corellon, and Algalon. The faction champions, the death toll rolling on and on. Garvale, Executus, Chromagus, and Charexus. Moon, Uru, kill this. We won't stop till we kill our boss. I'm a hunter.